So we talked about how by chemical reactions new substances are formed. These substances are also called elements, and this elements term was actually coined by someone. So now try to see it. The term element was first used by Robert Boyle in 1661. So it dates back to 1661 when Robert Boyle first used this term known as element. Okay. Now Antoine Laurent Lavoisier defined element. So first of all, this is the terming of element. In 1661, the term was invented, but it was defined later by Lavoisier as a basic form of matter that cannot be broken down into simpler substances by chemical reactions. Okay, so this element, let me just put a circle. So let's consider that this is the element. Okay. So this is the substance which can't be broken down. Like you can expect substances to be broken down into various forms. Okay, I can show 3 here, but it can be millions and millions of forms. But according to Lavoisier, elements is basically that substance which can't be broken down anymore. Okay, so into simpler substances by chemical reactions. Any kind of chemical reactions we discussed in previous videos, how through burning or any other process, chemical reactions, you can actually break down a substance or an element in this case. But element is that substance which can't be broken down anymore. So that is the thing about elements. Now let's move on from here. Now these elements we are talking about, they can be of 3 types. We'll be studying 2 major types in this video, metals and non-metals. Now I will be explaining this in detail, but before that, metalloids basically will be the elements. See, metals will have certain characteristics, non-metals will have certain characteristics. We will definitely discuss those characteristics, but metalloids are those elements which will have the characteristics of both metals and non-metals, which is why they are known as metalloids. So we will study that in a different video, but for now let's see what is there here. Okay, before that there is a question. Elements are either metals or non-metals. So option A is true, option B is false. The correct answer is option B, false. We discussed how elements can be either metals or non-metals or metalloids. Okay, metalloids basically are the elements which will have characteristics of both metals and non-metals. So they are known as metalloids. Okay. Okay. Firstly, we need to see metals. What are metals? So before going into the definition or basically the characteristics we need to study. So gold, silver, copper, iron, sodium, potassium, mercury. So these are all metals. Okay. Metals will have a certain characteristics. Like when I will be giving you the examples of non-metals, you will understand that there is a significant difference. What are the differences? What are those characteristics? Let's try to see it. First of all, they have luster. Okay, let me go to the previous slide. Luster means the shininess. Okay, if you see gold, silver or any metal in this case, so you will find a different sort of shininess. Okay, that is known as the luster. Okay, this is a very big characteristic of metals. Now going to the next characteristic, they have silvery grey or golden yellow color. You saw that apart from gold, mostly they have silvery grey. Silver has a silvery grey color, all the other metals, so they have a specific sort of color through which you can understand, okay, these are metals, and that is a natural color. Okay, so you can think about many elements which can have a different sort of color which is mentioned here, but they can be applied. Okay, these are natural colors, naturally silvery grey or golden yellow color. Okay, now they conduct heat and electricity. So this is straight up a characteristic, you can not see it and understand. So this will be entirely different from non-metals. I am going there, but before that, metals will conduct heat and electricity. Okay, now the next 2 characteristics are very important. They are ductile, can be drawn into wires. We talked about how copper is a metal. So you must have seen that different copper wires, like you see this line, it can be as thin as a line. So it can be as ductile. Ductile means it can be drawn to thin wires. Okay, copper wires. So that is what is a speciality of metals. Like you can see, as you saw in the picture, showing you once more. You can see these are like big blocks. Okay, in any case, potassium, mercury, silver, copper, in any case, they're big blocks, but they are as ductile that they can be moved to these thin wires. Okay, so that is another very important thing you need to understand. Okay, so first of all, in this picture only you can understand, in case of iron, where you see all other are big blocks, but in case of iron you see they are actually put into different sort of structures, very different structures, squares, rectangles, cylinders. So basically it can be even more thinner like a wire. Okay, so now let me go to the next characteristic, and that is that they are malleable, can be hammered into thin sheets. Aluminium sheets, aluminium foils, you know how aluminium foil can keep the food warm and everything. So aluminium or any other metal can be actually hammered to thin sheets. Okay, like you see gold can be, in the earlier ages you had gold coins. How were the gold coins formed? Right, they were formed because they could be hammered into thin sheets. Okay, sheets like very thin. So wires and malleable means thin sheets. Okay, wires, definitely you know what is a wire, and in case of, they are very similar. Okay, ductile and malleable, they are pretty similar, and they can be used not interchangeably but very much similar. One wire absolute thin, one into thin sheets. Okay, like aluminium foils and everything. Finally, they are sonorous, make a ringing sound when hit. So the biggest example is your school bell. So nowadays you may not have a bell, but the school bell is the biggest example, or any bell you can see in temples, absolutely. So they ring and they make a sound. Okay, or your cycle bell. Okay, so all these are made of metals and they make a particular sound. Okay, sonorous, sono means sound. Okay, this sono, it means sound. Okay, so that is something you can remember. So these are all the features of metal. If these all are true for an element, they can be told to be a metal. Okay. Now, we studied about metals. We are now going to study about non-metals. So first see the examples. You can see completely different substances or elements we are talking about. Hydrogen, oxygen, iodine, carbon, bromine, chlorine. So these are the examples. It can be more definitely, but these are a few examples of non-metals. So first of all, try to see what are the difference between metals and non-metals. First of all, they display a variety of colors. Okay. In case of metals, what did we see? Silvery gray or yellow. Okay, a particular colors. But in this case, there is a variety of colors. So that's the first. You will always try to contradict. Okay, you will see there is a contrast. You don't need to remember the features in particular. If you remember the features of one, either metal or non-metal, you can just contrast that and understand. For metals, you had specific colors. In this case, you have a variety of colors. Next, they are poor conductors of heat and electricity. So in case of metals, we understood how they are very good conductors of heat and electricity. Non-metals aren't. Okay. And finally, they are not lustrous, sonorous or malleable. Malleable, if it's not malleable, it won't be ductile also. So they come together. So they can't be beaten into thin sheets or wires. They can't make any sound, and they are not lustrous. Okay, they can come in different colors, but they won't shine. They won't shine like a gold or silver plate. Okay, so that is the thing about non-metals. Now, what did we study in this video? First of all, we understood how in 1661, Robert Boyle invented the term elements. But it's not just about inventing the term, it also had to be defined, which was done later by Lavoisier, and he meant that these are substances which can't be broken down any further. Okay, they are the final substances. Then we understood how there are three different kind of elements. Okay, first of all, metals, non-metals, and metalloids, which we didn't study in this video, but metalloids basically have some feature of the metals, some feature of the non-metals. So first of all, we studied metals like gold, silver, aluminium, copper, etc. They have specific features. We discussed about the features, how they are lustrous, they can conduct electricity, they're malleable, they're ductile, they're sonorous. Okay. And on the other side, we talked about non-metals like hydrogen, oxygen, bromine, chlorine, chlorine, etc. And we also talked about their features. They're just the opposite of metals, like they display a variety of colors, they're poor conductors of heat and electricity, and they're neither lustrous nor sonorous nor malleable. Okay, so these are the takeaways from this video.